Good evening, Enterprise fans, and welcome to tonight's race between EizanTayama and PeasantsOMFG. This is a round of 8 race of the Lali-Ho League. I am Baku Shinobi, and I am joined by Vitasia. How are you doing this evening, Vitasia?
Doing fantastic tonight. Looking forward to this wonderful round of 8 race. Both EizanTayama and PeasantsOMFG have absolutely had to run a gauntlet to even get this far. Everyone who's made it up to this point in time is just a fantastic racer. Anyone could go ahead and win this all. So this is a fresh match. I'm looking forward to this one.
Very much so. Our runners are, like you said, they both had some fierce fights. EizanTayama had a 2-1 series against Couch23, and PeasantsOMFG had another 2-1 series against Korek. Definitely a lot of hard fighting going forward, and the winner of this set is going to go and move on to the winner of the Dusty Griffin Phineas set. So lots on the table here, lots to go and show off and see, and we have 2 great runners to show it for us, with our objectives being the 3 standard, the Kukol Forge, the complete the Twin Harp, and trade away the Pink Tail. And then we also have 2 boss hunts.
Yeah, the 2 bosses, and they're not necessarily difficult bosses. Defeat Bahamut, and then which gives you the free countdown, as well as defeat King and Queen Eblin, which is almost free no matter where you go. So 2 boss hunts really can change how the runners end up routing around, and you might see them doing some extra checks, going up Mount Ordeals maybe when they don't necessarily have to, and hunt for those bosses. So it'll be real interesting to see what changes these runners make to their normal routing. Rosa start as well. That's always nice to see.
Yeah, always good to have a very solid white mage. She can definitely do a lot of good damage, provided you go and find a decent bow for her. And it looks like we're about to go and start and see what decent stuff we're going to have to go with the seed.
Oh, starts off with a child as well. So we have a tower key, Dragon Whip in there for Rydia, which will be awesome, and about 43k gold. That's about the midpoint for the gold, and you don't really need a whole lot more than that. That's an adequate amount of gold, really, to let you do what you need to do for the race.
Yeah, if you're willing to apply a fair amount of forward planning, you don't need to go and worry about a curse string if you encourage the small child to take some naps.
I mean, yeah, but this early in the game, that's going to be much more difficult. Better said than done. We'll put it that way. We're running on not a whole lot of gear still, and that early summon that you can get access to by going up to Mount Hobbs and going in the actual front door, that summon can do quite a bit for you right there. And we see a vanilla Octomom as Eizan ends up checking the back end of the Watery Pass.
And Peasants is going and checking the front of Watery Pass, going and doing some looting there, while Eizan is checking the treasury, which is definitely something to go and see, because there's a big disparity between T-Pro treasures in these 2 locations. The Watery Pass is higher weighted because it has nothing of terrible interest for us, and Peasants, I think, is getting rewarded with some good things, while Eizan is discovering the, shall we say, hidden sparse flag with that Cell 0 turned on.
Yeah, Cell 0 turned on, so lots of 0 gold, and even the stuff that we do have, you're not going to like. Just seeing on Peasant side, I saw at least a black robe. I saw, you combine that with the Dragon Whip, it's going to be kind of nice. Rydia is going to be able to do a lot of stuff. As a general rule, I like equipping out to be able to handle the first few bosses without any other sort of assistance. So I like what Peasants is doing here first, but Eizan must have a plan at this point in time.
Eizan is definitely looks to be planning on that summon going and doing some help that you were talking about, as we are going to the front of Mount Hobbs on Eizan's side, as Peasants has finished looting front and back of Watery Pass and seems less inclined to check the summon and more inclined to check the character. Eizan did go and get the Shiva summon from Mount Hobbs. A little troll leap is usually the summon who clears this set of blocks, the exception being Ashura and Shiva. But if you walk out and in, you'll go and get those blocks clear.
All right, so Shiva is nice. It's not fantastic, but it can absolutely get you through. Oh, there's a Golbez up there with the Sid. That's very, very rude. But you know what? It's not bad to start with, honestly. He will kill your party down to only 2 characters, and hey, we already have at least 1 character that's... So... Rydia goes down. Eizan is committing to Rydia taking a nap early on. So he's set up already.
And Peasants is not committing to knocking down that Rydia, just leaving her up. Does appear to have put that Dragon Whip on because Rydia got the first turn on Peasant's side, while on Eizan's side, Rydia was the last character to act after both Sid and Rosa went.
Loving these dueling double shadow dragons.
Yeah, Shadow Dragon leaves one side of the screen and moves to the other, just decides, all right, who are we going to go and eat? We're eating Rosa today. And that stings a bit, though. If you want Rydia to go and use any magic, this early bit of experience is going to be very important, because if you take a look at her, she starts at 30 HP and 10 MP. She is very hard to go and do much of anything with outside of that Dragon Whip. But give her a little bit of experience and she is much more capable of casting any of those spells.
Yep, it looks like Eizan did win the coin flip on there, so his Sid is going to live through it. Meanwhile, looks like the Star Veil is up on Rydia on the other side, so Peasants is actually going to have Rydia gain most of the experience here, with that Dragon Whip doing decent damage as well while letting everything reflect off. Just really interesting. Eizan was set up to get through this fight a little bit quicker, just because he already had 1 character down. But Peasants is right there, and honestly, I think Peasants is going to benefit more from the levels here.
Yeah, Eizan is going to go get experience on a character who can use those levels more. Sid is already level 20 when he joins, so this experience I don't think even gives Sid 1 level. Not to mention, Sid doesn't really get that much from leveling up compared to Rydia, who is going to need a lot of levels to start casting the spells, as I mentioned. So interestingly enough, Peasants does not have the Shiva summon yet for that Eizan picked up, so I wonder if Peasants is going to go and pick that up or if he's going to skip it. He is going to continue to skip that.
That's kind of surprising, honestly, given everything that Peasants picked up. Rydia not only can hit things pretty well, but can cast pretty well with that black robe as well. So really interesting that he opted not to power up Rydia even a little bit more.
One thing that maybe Peasants is keeping in mind is that Dragon Whip Peasants has equipped that Eizan does not. The Dragon Whip does go and reduce Rydia's casting stats by 5, I believe. So she's going to cast much worse while it's on, but it is giving her additional strength and agility, which is why she was able to take the first action on Peasant's side, but act last on Eizan's side.
Actual Gungnir spear, by the way, in the back half. This is a treasure chest that we see a lot of runners end up skipping. Because the loot is not as good here at Antlion, a lot of runners opt to just skip through these as best as they can. Now, both runners here have been full looting out of here, at least the convenient chests, and rewarded for it, honestly. That Gungnir spear, if we find a cane, it's going to be fantastic in terms of an early weapon for him. And I mean, it's just a great pickup, honestly, for where we're looting right now.
Oh yeah, and that Star Veil from behind the save point, that's 3,000 gold you don't have to spend to replace the one you did spend on Mount Hobbs. And I see a total of 3 in the inventory. Yeah, that is a big pickup for both these runners. You start with 43,000 gold, spending 3,000 of it is a big chunk of change, to be honest.
And here we have a free fight. Just fantastic here. Just let everyone stay up and get through it. Justice is not the only right in this world, of course, with the delay. But getting through it. Peasants actually passing Eizan, even though Eizan was through the Mount Hobbs fight first. Peasants first one through the Antlion fight. So it'll be interesting to see how often these two are going to be trading the lead right now.
Speaking of trading the lead, we've found the Earth Crystal. I think we're going to be trading a bit of time to go and loot all of those chests in that treasury.
I would absolutely. That Troya treasury is the best spot for loot, honestly. Aside from all the tier 7 places that you can get, we're early enough. We haven't done enough looting. Yeah, go there, and then that's all the loot you should need for the rest of the seed.
Yep, on T-Pro, very hard to go and find those tier 7 items. You're going to go and either have to get them from a trap chest, maybe from a quest reward that doesn't have a key item, or in the Toria treasury, there's a 1% chance of each box having a tier 7 item. When you have about 20 or so boxes to open, that's not bad odds of pulling something great out of there.
Sylph Summon for sale also in the item shop. Now, Sylph makes Rydia very, very attractive at these early levels just because it can do quite a bit of damage while keeping your party healed up. Also, we have the Sylph glitch turned on, which is free.
Yep. But as Eizan is running into this treasury, I do believe we have a little meme that our Restormer is prepared to share with us.
Great that treasury!
We're seeing a whole bunch of things. I saw a tiara in there, light swords, life staff, samurai bow,
A siren, protect ring, an elixir. Yeah, this is a good treasury. Lots of useful gear, not only for this team, but also for other team members. A ninja hat as well, and a bandana. Yeah, we're going to call that a 9 out of 10 treasury, honestly. That was a good one.
Yeah, no Bahamut summons, no X-Scales, but Rydia, that tiara gives plus 10 to the black magic casting stat, which means Rydia can be even better at casting magic.
Off the top of my head, the only thing we're missing in terms of like top equipment for Rydia when she's casting, I mean, she doesn't have a decent weapon, of course, but black robe and tiara, and she that's top tier Rydia equipment is realistically.
Yeah, a sorcerer robe would be nice for the slight improvement of giving the undead resistance. A rune ring would be great for going and getting mage resistance, but that tiara already resists lightning. It goes and resists dragons. It is high defense. It's magnetic, so when we go into if we go into Cave Magnus, she's already going to be down without having to worry about fiddling with other equipment because she didn't start with her normal iron ring. 10 out of 10 equipment.
Lifes and Star Veils available over in Fabul, and we do see peasants just kind of continuing on with the flow of the seed. We went and looted, but then he's continuing on what we would normally see, going over and doing the Fabul defend. It looks like Eizan is going to be checking another boss, might be trying to skip Fabul, which is a cheeky play that some runners try to do so we can route all of the Fabul checks at the same time.
Yes, we do have one check that's open to us here right now, but there are 2 others that involve Fabul that you require a bit more stuff. The first check is defend Fabul. You defeat this Leviathan, you'll go and get a reward from the king. The second check is to go and walk underground, find Young in the Sylph Cave, try to talk to him, leave, come back, talk to Sheila and the tower next to the king. She'll give you a key item. The third item is getting behind the pan, which find that pan, you bonk it, you walk down to the bottom of the Sylph Cave, you bonk Young with that pan, and then you go and bring that pan back to Sheila, and she gives you another key item. So if you can go and, before you do Fabul and walk down that Sylph Cave, find the pan, you can go underground, bonk Young with the pan, come back to Fabul, do this defense fight, turn and talk to Sheila for the key item for talking to Young, and give the pan all in one walk, which could be very helpful sometimes because slight seconds of travel time can add up. But instead we get the Baron Key, which is another overworld check. We have 2 overworld gated locations open to us, both of them giving characters which I can imagine our runners being very tempted by, because when you have gated character checks, you can go and get characters that are only accessible by in those locations, specifically Edge or Fusoya.
Now, I really like this play from Peasants. Normally, in the chain of events right now, you would want to do something like Mount Ordeals, which can be appealing. There's 3 bosses. They're not overly difficult bosses either. However, there's no reason to complete it because it can be a pretty deep time sink. So going right over here to Baron, getting the character, and then being able to do Baron, we have the equipment, and honestly, we probably have the levels to be able to do so. So I really like this. We have a Palom available. That's interesting.
We also have a Paladin who Dragon Whip says, well, that's only 291 damage, but it did do quadruple damage compared to what it normally does, because Dragon Whips, they do extra damage against dragon enemies. And another thing I like about this play from Peasant side is you will not get any bonus experience on this flag set. So any characters you get and experience, oh goodness, we have a Wyvern right here. That's
rude. It's very rude. But we get a Star Veil up on at least Rydia. Also, Sid, this is kind of a slow spot. So if you set it up properly, yeah, it's not free, but it's... Wait, what?
This is making it free. Because if you cast a summon spell on Wyvern, Wyvern has a counterattack for that. You're not supposed to use summons on moon bosses. He's gonna cast... Oh look, Mega Nuke, it's coming back. We still have Star Veils up, huh? Bye, Wyvern.
Cheeky. That's cheeky.
That the moon bosses didn't really want you to use that nice Bahamut that you got on the moon. And there's that Pan that I was talking about.
All right, so we have our entrance into the underworld. Interesting to note that we now have another black mage, so we're in a magic heavy party right now. And Rydia and Palom can share a lot of the gear. That black robe would be great on Palom if you want Rydia to be your anchor, but at the same time, Palom can't equip that tiara. So what are you gonna do if you're trying to maximize your damage right here? Obviously, keep looting and dive into the barren sewers.
Yeah, I can definitely see an argument to be made for going and stacking that black robe on Palom, because if nothing else, it'll keep both of them alive. The tiara is a lot of defense for the overworld, while the black robe is another late piece of equipment. Both of them is probably going to go and minimize almost all damage on the character, but one on each can probably be enough to keep them alive while still going and letting them have a bit of a boost. Rydia currently doesn't have many good spells either, so boosting her black magic doesn't seem very helpful for Peasants, while Palom after one fight is going to learn tier 2 elemental spells.
You got to get through that fight, though. And as I recall, this was a Rubicant sprite, wasn't it? Or what sprite did we see here to start the race?
I was a little focused on the other goodies, so I missed that.
Odin, I'm sorry.
I do believe we have lit arrows, though, and lit arrows are going to do very good work against this Odin.
Absolutely. So, in the meantime, it looks like... Oh, we have Rosa with the power staff trying to bonk our wonderful Sid right now with those lit arrows to zerk him up. Meanwhile, Eizan is going to go up Mount Ordeal, saying, hey, we're going to have to come up here anyway, and we're making the gamble. This is an interesting divergence here, and it'll be interesting to see how well it plays off. One of the things about any sort of randomizer race that you're going through, if you're gambling against something, you got to stick to it for as long as you can. So if we end up finding a magma key or anything, a magma key or hook our route into the underground elsewhere, Peasants kind of avoiding Mount Ordeals for a while. So if something else is here, it might be interesting for Eizan.
True, though Peasants might be prioritizing not so much fading ordeals as he's prioritizing character checks, because Fusoya is a very big pickup. The sooner you can get Fusoya, the more powerful he can go and carry things, or the better he can carry things for you. So that could be where Peasant's choice is at, but Eizan finding Ogopogo in the front spot of ordeals is this is the third moon boss we've found, and Eizan doesn't know it.
All the Doom Noodles. All of the Doom Noodles.
At least this spot doesn't punch hard, but you still have to deal with those HP-based waves, so this is probably the rudest boss for the spot.
And on the counter side, Peasants, no, that is not the King of Baron. That is 3 imps in a trench coat.
Look, they're trying to go and make sure they stack up to the competition, and well, the lack of the boss fight is hurting that, I guess.
Now, here's the interesting thing: we don't have any Medusa arrows or any coffins or anything that could, instant kill these dark imps. No assassin daggers even. So they can be a little punchy if you're not careful here. So gotta get Palom up, hopefully to get him some experience here. Still trying to get Rosa to bonk Sid, and it's not working too well.
Rosa got a critical hit on Sid too, which is further insult to injury. We're gonna go in Berserky now. Wham! No, I'm not feeling angry enough to hit them. I'm feeling a bit different on this.
Meanwhile, we do have full Rubicant that is over here for boss number 2. Casting those glares. This can be a really rude spot. We do see ice arrows, but Enridia has Shiva. I forget. Eizan was the one who grabbed Shiva, right?
Correct. Eizan is set up to go and cast Shiva with Rydia, but gonna need Rubicant to open that cloak so that Shiva will actually hurt him. There we go. Cloak opens. We'll see if this is some decent damage for Rubicant while Peasants is getting through that fight. Unfortunately, not getting experience on Palom, which hurts a bit just because 36,000 experience on Palom and you have Quake.
Well, hello, Duplicate Rosa that we're not allowed to have. How are you doing today?
Unfortunately, Baron Castle is turning out to be a dud for the character. Duplicate characters are not allowed in this flag set, so that's just another copy of the Rosa you already have.
Meanwhile, Eizan getting through, got the crumble on Rubicant, so getting through at least the toughest boss up here on Mount Ordeals. We'll see which character is rewarded most, because I think one of these 2 locations is going to have our access to the underworld, unless it's, more chains and more rabbit holes to dive into.
We do have an Earth Crystal, and that's a rat tail, so that is not, well, it could be a way underground, but we need the other way underground, the hook. Because there are 2 paths underground in this seed. One is the magma key, which will go and let you get directly underground. No questions asked, no muss, no fuss. The other is the hook, which will allow you to move the hovercraft and move to Evelyn Cave to go through that cave and fight 2 kind of high-level bosses. And that's the less preferred route if you're still wondering.
All right, so Peasants is going ahead and going up Mount Ordeals, and I tend to agree with Chad. When you're hunting for 3 bosses, not only the 2 that are objectives, but also the D-Mist as well, it's hard to justify putting this off for too long. And there's the pass. Oh no! So right now it looks like the Earth Crystal is going to be our.
D-Mist is right here.
Oh, bonus round. Okay.
We at least found 1 boss on this mountain. Gonna go and say it's rather impressive. We've seen so many bosses and haven't found either of those 3 yet. There are a total of 33 bosses in a seed, so we've seen about 9 or so already, if I'm not mistaken.
Poor Palom isn't going to survive these rounds of big waves either. Like, Palom cannot catch a break right at the moment.
Palom's not having a good day now. It's just like, yeah, that's... Look, we're just going to knock the kid down. We'll leave him down. He'll be fine. Maybe Palom will get his day against Rubicant, because that Ice 2 spell probably going to do a fair amount of work.
Are you saying that Palom gets knocked down, but he gets up again, and you're never going to keep him down?
I think that he only gets up between fights because he's staying down for all the... Oh, no. Looks like Rosa is going and supporting your position. Never mind, I thought it was a... Oh, Rydia is going and bringing up the small child.
Just in time for... Hey, just in time for the experience to come through. Perfect.
That can be all it takes, as pretty sure Peasants is going to be very interested in having that experience on the kid for the next fight.
Well, absolutely. Anything you can to keep that alive. I haven't seen what he's equipped with, though. That's kind of what I'm trying to figure out. Does he have anything that'll help him improve his damage here? Because that Ice 2 can do a ton of work with even like 1 or 2 pieces of equipment. A good rod and then just like a little bit of magic.
Yeah, I mean, Ice 1 from Rydia, who has a slight bit of... I mean, she has the +10 from the Tiara and -5 from the Dragon Whip. Also, Palom, apparent hate magnet, it seems, taking all of the hits, going down first in every fight for Peasants.
Meanwhile, Eizan also getting the Mega Nuke treatment. We'll see. Using life to try to get more people up. Worth noting that there's no experience that you get from this particular location. So making sure that your characters are alive, not really necessary. You just want to get through the fight. I really liked how cleanly Peasants got through here. Showing his high-level game knowledge and saving a little bit of time on this Wyvern fight. That might be indicative of later, but also Dragon Whip Rydia, go Burr.
Yeah, Dragon Whip Rydia is faster and is able to get a bunch of hits off. Now Eizan has the pan while Peasants is just getting through that. Rubicon is going to be getting the pass from the top of ordeals, and I don't remember if we've seen what Demist held for us.
We haven't seen it yet. Eizan flew right to Baron as opposed to checking what the Demist is, so that's still a variable that's out there that Peasants will be checking right now.
As long as he remembers as well, it's very easy to go and forget to check your Demist afterwards, particularly when you have multiple different plans and you're thinking of your route, and it's like, all right, I haven't gotten my underground access from here or here yet. I have one normal location open, and now I've got a chain to go and follow, and then you come along minutes, hours later asking, did I fight I fought Demist already. Did I check? I'd never checked Demist.
I think everyone's done that at some point. Every high-level runner has accidentally skipped the Demist check at some point after finding it deep. It's like, well, let me route it efficiently in, and then we completely forget. Just completely and totally.
And Eizan is choosing to go to Toria Castle.
Oh.
This will go and take us to that Earth Crystal check and not to the Demist check.
Oh my. If the Demist check is indeed our access to the underworld, this could be bad. Now, that's not to say that Peasants won't eventually go here as well. So it could still be time neutral, all things said, by the end of the race. But by the time Peasants get to it, he might already have his full party and he's just trying to get through, or this is someplace that we might skip entirely. So really interesting routing decisions by both of our runners right now. I am worried that Eizan forgot about that Demist and has to go turn it in before too long. If Peasants checks it first and it's something of value, this could really be the key defining point in the race already.
Yeah, and Peasants seems to, Peasants flying straight there, not distracted by any other option. So we're going to see what this Demist has, while Eizan is finding the first boss of Tower of Zot. And it is the freebie Water Hag, while Peasants just got a Soma drop, so the way underground is through this Tower of Zot.
Not punished at all. We're going to see Peasants actually taking the time while he was checking this to also check this boss in the Mist Cave. We know it's a Mom Bomb, so quick reset out. And now EizanTayama's got a nice little lead here. He hasn't done anything in Baron Castle yet, even though he has the Baron key. So kind of an interesting gamble on that. Peasants has already at least cleared out that first boss and has a few more levels for his characters as well.
Yep. His Palom has learned some spells, but Eizen's, I believe, is just caught up on experience, so definitely something advantage there. Peasants is going cleaning up the information difference between Eisen and himself, so both of them are cleaning up in that front. Peasants is a boss fight behind in Zot, and the Baron check ahead.
And we get some interesting information that the Golbez fight in the underground is going to be Queen Asura. But now we don't have any great equipment. I have seen a mute dagger somewhere, but Sid can't equip it. We have a couple black mages who can, but you don't want your black mages swinging. You want them casting. So that'll be interesting. Oh, hi there. Hi, Fu.
That is the big money old man. That is a big character check. Fusoya has been found. He will go and gain 3 spells every boss you've defeated, up to 1400 HP. He's gained a good number of spells already, so we'll have to take a look at his spell list to see what he has. You could very well have Nuke already at this point.
Very easily. We've killed a lot of bosses, and ironically, I think Peasants, because he's killed more bosses, he might be a step up. He has Quake, looks like he has Fire 3 and Stone if there's anything nice. He has some decent cure spells, Blink. No Berserk, but we don't really have a Berserk-based party, so that's perfectly fine. We see Peasants fishing a little bit, looking for the Trap Chest, which real easy Flame Dog here, and Trap Chests can hold Tier 7 equipment. Our first objective, by the way.
First objectives in the renamed Tower of Freebies. King Queen Evelyn, the most free fight in the game, most likely because they cast Fire 1 and Fire 2, absolutely pathetic spell powers, and they don't really need to go and do a lot. Like, as you can see, 96 damage from a Fire 2, that is not something you're going to go and be terribly afraid of almost anywhere.
No, this is the fight that if you wanted to, you can literally just kind of set your controller down and wait out. But EizanTayama made the calculation, it's faster just to go. Looks like we have a virus learned by our Palom, and we got the objective. I think that said Meteo as well learned, so why not?
Low cast, but high firepower.
Swag rock stats ho.
So the real question is, all right, here's a cheeky scenario. We get a hook from this spot, but we find Valvalis on the hook route. Which would mean that there could be a magma key at the rat tail from Baron Castle.
Well, that's something that Peasants can check almost immediately. But that's not something that Eisen can check. And Eisen has said, yeah, let's go ahead and check Baron, at least. Eisen is going to have an easier time getting through this because that Fu is going to do Fu-like things and crush his competition and, leave a trail of tears in his wake.
Yeah, those Dark Imps are already quaking in their boots because I don't think Eisen's going to have nearly as long a fight as Peasants did.
No, and he's got Stone Spell, and we saw that earlier when he was checking what magic he had. Stone can immediately kill those 3 Imps, so it'll be a much faster fight for Eisen than it was for Peasants. But at the same time, Peasants is going to be able to get through, I think some of these other fights a little bit faster as well. So, potato at this point in time, they're both going to be heading into the underground about the same time, if I'm going to guess.
Yeah, this is going to come down to cutscenes more than anything. And this next fight for Peasants is entirely free. Fu is going to have a bunch of good spells, and yeah, we don't really need to worry about much of anything. There's the Fusoya for Peasants. Also, interesting note, we have seen 2 of the 3 duplicate characters in the seed. We have Distinct 10 turned on, which means only 10 characters are going to go and show up across the whole seed. We have seen 5 characters, and then the 2 duplicates of the Duplicate Rosa Duplicate Rosa who was in Baron Inn, or Baron Castle, and the Duplicate Palom who was in Zot.
That does. Oh, there's Nuke unlocked by Eisen right there, which tells me that Peasants already has Nuke unlocked at this point in time. Which, not that it's going to do a whole lot for King Queen Evelyn, but
Yeah, but that's going to go. It's also not going to do a whole lot in the Dark Hymn, so that's kind of a funny time to learn it. You have Nuke, but by the time you get Nuke, you're not going to go and have a boss in front of you who you want to use it on.
yeah,
Peasants.
and Peasants gets right through that so fast, and yeah, Eisen right there. My gosh, this is coming down to cutscenes right now. So they're, again, back and forth, exactly what you would expect to see from a round of 8 run. They're just going at it at this point in time. This is fantastic. This is what you expect to see at this point in the tournament.
I agree. We're definitely going to go and have a very high octane match for. We're not even 30. We're just over 30 minutes into this. We're not even underground, but we have our runners going and staying neck and neck with each other very strongly. Peasants gets the hook. Eisen's going to go and see the rat tail. Peasants probably going to be turning in the rat tail sooner than Eisen, but both are going to be very close to each other. No one has to sit through that hovercraft cutscene, if I'm not mistaken. No, Peasants does, so Eisen might be going in that rat tail turned in.
I mean, they might both be doing the rat tail turn in at this point in time. What I would find interesting, it's clear that Peasants isn't going to do it right now, but Eisen could also make a cheeky play and at least face check the boss in the Barren Basement. Now, logically, we know our underground access has to be the hook, but if that ends up by chance being the magma key or something else that's important, that could be kind of an interesting play right at the moment. We have a Fu with Nuke. We could theoretically get through just about anything that's down there. Logically, we know that can't be our intended underground access, but it still might be a cheeky play.
And that could be our Bahamut. It's a boss. We don't need to go and... Yeah, Bahamut doesn't have to be anywhere overworld or anything specific. We find him on that Barren Throne. We can take that out and cut down one of the key item hunts we have to do.
Rat Tail just gives us a power robe, which is nice. Not thrilling, but nice. And EizanTayama doing the exact same thing that Peasants is doing. They're seconds behind each other. My goodness.
Yeah, there is... We're not going in... going around. Yeah, Peasants going in, dropping off that hovercraft to Eblin. Just going to be heading into Eblin Cave, it seems. So we've got Eisen going giving the power shirt to Rydia of all characters. I find rather interesting.
I mean, the meme is let Rydia hit things, so sure. Rydia is planning on hitting a lot of things right now. Sirens and Bacchuses available at this shop. This is what, guaranteed 2 nice J items there. Sirens, there's our grind. We saw Peasants picking up 6 Sirens, which tells you about how much grinding he's planning on doing at that point in time. We'll see if Eisen also picks up a similar amount.
Peasants seeing some nice items in the shop, but does not have the money to afford them, as we've gotten maybe 10,000 gold and still have the 43,000 we started with. Eisen staring. Temptation has taken hold of Eisen. He is buying Sirens and resisting the urge to buying 3 Bacchus now.
That's a high number of Bacchus wines for not a melee party. That's interesting.
Oh. This seed loves to go and crush your hopes and dreams, it says, as we see Evil Wall is the boss blocking the way underground, and there is no hope for a different way underground unless you do that Barren Throne.
Yeah, that's rough. Evil at that location, that's a ton of HP to chew through. We know Virus on Palom, we know Nuke on Fu. The rest of the party is kind of worthless, if you want to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, that's this party is not exactly going in and instilling confidence, as Yeah, we have two characters who can do damage. Rosa can go and, after some more levels, cast Blink, which would be very helpful. But that nuke on Fusoya is probably being the main way through this. Peasants not even checking any chests, just seems to be beelining straight to the fights with the impression, I have nuke, I have Fu, I am going to use that to get through these fights.
Eizan does pick up an Ogre Axe in the meantime. That's really pretty good, honestly. That'll help him quite a bit. Meanwhile, we have Samurai Bow and Charm Arrows aplenty for Rosa as well. So doing reasonably well, all things said, in terms of equipment. I like Eizan's equipment better, but when you have mages, it's just let them cast.
We have probably two of the rudest bosses on this hook route. Feigen and the King Queen Eblin spot. This spot hits hard, it hits fast, and it did 400 damage to that Fu in the back row with some decent equipment. And 1300 to the kid in the front row without much equipment.
This could get interesting.
Fu has, however, gone through half of Feigen's HP, as this spot only has about 6,000 HP, but need to get back to Fu's turn. Going casting Blink on Fusoya, definitely going to be a helpful thing, because Blink nullifies 2 physical attacks, and that's all Feigen really has for him.
Yeah, chat pointing out that underground access through the hook route is the exact opposite of Tower of Zot. Zot was absolutely free between Water Hag and King Queen Eblin. This is the opposite. No experience necessarily from that first round to fight, so now we're going to have to fight Evil Wall, and that gets punchy too. This is going to be interesting.
Yeah, we've got throwing the Power Robe on Sid. We're going to go and throw, taking off the Ninja Hat and giving it to Fusoya so that Fusoya can go faster, I'm guessing. Taking off the Glass Hat to go and give it to Rosa, and Fu is going to take the Glass Hat. That will go and keep Fusoya protected very well, as that Glass Hat is one of the highest pieces of physical defense in the game, so going to go and keep Fu a bit more safe.
I am a little bit worried about increasing the speed of the middle character, though, with that Ninja Hat, because Evil Wall is going to move fast here anyway.
Yes, there's a small primer on Final Fantasy IV is their first iteration of the ATB system. The developers decided that the way they're going to calculate how fast turns come is based off of Cecil's agility. Whatever his agility is, we'll go and multiply around that. So it always takes Cecil 5 ticks of the ATB to go and get a turn. If you go and move this, take Cecil out of the party, well, what do? It was the center slot character. So in Free Enterprise, the center slot character, by default, is your, what we call, agility anchor, who the ATB calculations are going to be based off of. And the maximum anything can be is 5 times faster than your anchor. So if you have a very slow anchor, kind of easy to get everyone to be 5 times faster than your anchor. But if you have a fast anchor, you're not going to go and have anyone, you're not going to be able to go and hit that 5 times cap with the rest of your party, and that's going to be pretty hard to deal with sometimes.
Now, Fu's getting quite a bit of damage up. I mean, they're relatively low roll nukes, but he hasn't been taking any hits, or only took 1 hit at this point in time. So he keeps advancing forward. I think he's on pace to be doing enough damage right now. He's just gotta keep pumping out that damage before Evil Wall gets all the way up there. Oh, yeah. Oh, Eizan.
I did not see what Eizan got.
Well, it's a crystal sword. So we're really hoping for a Cecil now.
I believe Peasants is not hoping for a Cecil. I believe Peasants is fervently hoping that Cecil never appears in the seed. But Eizan is hoping for Cecil to show up as soon as possible.
what's the meme that happens at this point in time? Assert dominance, sell the crystal sword for 0 gold.
Pretty much. That's what we need, and we are unfortunately in crush phase on Peasant's side. Downside, Crush instantly kills whichever character it's cast on. Upside, Evil Wall gets a lot slower. So, if you can go and get damage out, you can potentially War of Attrition this by casting Nuke with Fusoya and casting, just keep pulling up everyone, just keep going and reviving your party, and maybe you can get through this. And Peasants does. Evil Wall is down, Peasants is through to the underground at just around 44 minutes as Eizan is getting into the first of the 2 fights.
That was a bit of a butt clencher on that one. Let's be realistic on that. Hey, glad that Palom learned Quake there, and Fu's now at full power, which is nice to see, but that made him a little bit nervous, so he's happy to be through there. We'll see how long it takes Eizan to get through. Eizan has just done more looting at this point in time, and that's the only difference. Peasants has avoided doing any additional looting through either the Cave of Eblin or through, this Tower of Babel in this upper part. Eizan has done all the looting, and he's gotten much better loot, I would say, but it hasn't necessarily paid off up until this point in time, at least for now. Now, these second half of the seed, where the bosses are starting to get a little bit more rude, that's where the loot is going to end up helping Eizan. If he finds, for example, a Cecil, I mean, that would be fantastic.
I was just going to say, this is going to come down heavily for how long it takes Eizan to get through this hook route, and does Cecil show up in Dwarf Castle or somewhere else nearby, or is Cecil somewhere buried and not showing up anywhere?
Well, we've only seen 6 characters up to this point in time, so there's still 4 out there hiding. Dwarf Castle is looking real good to check. I'm hoping the final duplicate is actually on the Giant, because I don't know, after playing these seeds for long enough, I just want to be nice to the runners, and here you go. Here's exactly what you want right in front of you.
Oh, I like C5. I want to go and see no more duplicates. Let's just go and have, a duplicate in Dwarf Castle. Go and get a Darkness Crystal so you get up to the moon. Not like, don't see any more character checks. You don't need them. You got a fine party here. I also didn't play these flags very much, so, I may be more inclined to be cruel.
Speaking of, there's another pretty decent sword, Excalibur, from the Pan turn-in. We see Peasants immediately turning in, following the age-old wisdom, always check your freebies, which, that's fair.
Yeah, this is 2 key item checks. If either of these are a Twin Harp, that is very easy riding for Peasants, as you just do that as your party is already weakened through both the fight to get down to the hook route and that walk through Sylph Cave to further weaken you with the damage tiles. This also means that the Crystal Sword is going to be strong for Eizan, but it's not as much of an advantage for Eizan anymore. Still a significant advantage because it is another 50 attack power and 5 strength, but... Well, Sheila 1 not paying out very well with that first check. Second check is a Sand Ruby. Do you remember who that Kaipo character was?
Honestly, don't know if either of them checked it, to be perfectly honest. I don't know off the top of my head. I'm hoping our wonderful tracker, Heart Gamer, has checked it. Shout out, by the way, both to Heart Gamer and Smapney, who's doing the restream as well. The crew behind the scenes that lets us have all the fun talking about this right now. But without them, we would be completely lost as well. So big shout out to those two.
Yes, thank you both very much for all of your help in putting this on. But speaking of putting things on, Evil Wall is putting on a bit of a pain show for Eizan as Fusoya is down, and I am quite certain Fusoya is the main source of damage for Eizan.
Yeah, we did see Peasants go out of his way to equip the glass hat so that Fu would be able to survive through that. Evil Wall was punching quite hard on Eizan with no glass hat, with Fu in the front row, he took a lot of damage there. So not going to be nearly as smooth of a fight for Eizan through here. This is looking bad for Eizan right now.
Eizan might need to just simply go and stay in crush phase, and yeah, there's crush phase starting. There goes Sid, who I believe was berserked and the only other source of damage on the team. And we do have Quake from Palom, so that is going to go and be something. Fu's back up, so we're going to cast another nuke, but Fu is out of MP after this. Peasants used a Soma drop on Fusoya to go get an extra cast and still had to use an elixir on Fu to get all the MP back.
Elements and Antlion, meanwhile, in the Fey March, those are two very rude bosses right there.
Elements, I think, is pretty doable. You can go and do the reflect strats. The main question is, do you have undead resistance gear for Fusoya? Because that would go and push me one way or another. If I can keep Fusoya alive and throw a sorcerer robe on him, he's got undead resistance, he's got that glass hat for even more physical defense. Go put a Star Veil up on Fusoya, reflect some Fire 3s, and you can go and get through elements without too much trouble. But it's also not too much trouble to do some eggs and get a bunch of experience.
All right, so Eizan does get through, sees that very rude Voval that's located at the top of Lower Babel, and Peasants now, after doing all the freebie checks, says, you know what, let's scramble a few eggs. Let's make sure that my Palom and my Rydia can do decent damage, and then let's proceed at this point. Also going to be checking the Tomra shop, which is nice.
Still would like to probably see hourglasses or a few other of the neat tools that can be found in some of the gated shops, as coffins, definitely one of those things I'd like to see. They will instantly kill any enemy not immune to either instant death effects or have the boss bit, so useful J item. These underground shops and the Eblin shop are better shops because, as we mentioned earlier, these are gated and they're allowed to go and have higher tier items for sale, which is very helpful, though not as helpful when you can't sell your equipment to get money. So our runners are going to be very frugal about what they go and choose to purchase.
Interesting. Peasants has decided, I can take on that Val at top of tower. I'm going to skip Dwarf Castle for now and say the efficient check. I have the tower key. Let's do this double tower check. I like it. That tells me that he's comfortable with his party. He's not doing additional party checks at this point. It's more about doing efficient key item checks at this point. 2 bosses, 2 key item checks up here.
And Possum Morpheus in chat pointing out, Val at the top of tower is much less rude to this mage party because he does not gain the bonus magic defense over spinning form, so nuke will still land. And if Peasants knows this, well, Valvalis just went from, I never want to touch that with this mage party, to, freebie, I've got nuke.
Meanwhile, Eizan following in Peasant's footsteps, saying, hey, I know that this is, I got to check my freebies. The difference is he needs to be able to do something else. He can't be following in Peasant's footsteps, because if this is a straight line race, if he keeps walking in Peasant's footsteps, he'll lose the first round. He's got to make a different call. Not that he knows what the different call is, but this is where the feel of the race comes in. If you feel behind or not, you have to know what gambles to make and when to make them.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing Eizan needs is to go and find a Cecil. I don't know if either runner checked that Sand Ruby and I have knowledge of that, but if I'm Eizan, I have a Crystal Sword, I want to go and find a Cecil as soon as I can. That Cecil is going to go and nuke with Fu is very strong. It is going to go and get you through a lot, but there are certain points where it runs out, like that evil wall. You have to go and put MP back into Fusoya in order to keep going. Cecil, you cast Berserk on him and he just does the same amount of damage almost, only endlessly.
Oh, and here's the bed check. We haven't seen a bed check yet. We'll see. Is this another duplicate? Is this going to be Heartbreak?
That is a Cane. That is, if you're worried about taking a mage team up the top of power and do not know that Valvalis has no magic defense there. Kane fixes that because Kane will stop Val's spin.
And you know what? We found that Gungnir. I would be perfectly happy taking a Kane because he has a decent weapon at this point in time, and it looks like we ditched our child. No more babysitting or us.
Yeah, it looks like Kane gets to join the party and just start hitting things with that Gungnir spear. We do not have a Dwarf Axe, which would be very nice to go in back row Kane as well, the Dwarf Axe is the only long-range weapon that Kane can equip, and once you equip a long-range weapon in Final Fantasy IV, the game never unsets that whole back row long-range thing, and you can just simply do full damage on the back row no matter what weapon you use. But speaking of weapons of choice, Peasants using Nuke on that Val, getting a Pink Tail, which is objective number 3. That is going to be very nice for Peasants. We're down to potentially 1 key item and 1 boss hunt, so we may find Forged into Excal before we find the Twin Harp. Or we may find both of those before we find Bahamut.
Now we see Eizan coming over here. He's going to do a bit of grind for him now that he's got a different character going up here. Should be interesting at this point in time. Pinktail, and we have Dark Elf in this, what is otherwise a free fight here.
Slightly annoying because Dark Elf is guaranteed to take 2 hits to kill because Dark Elf, well, he goes and has in the vanilla game, he has 22,000 HP. But after you do 2,000 damage to Dark Elf in his vanilla spot, he says, "Me change," and switches to something different. Other spots, he retains some of the added bonus HP, but, well, still 2 hits and he's down. But meanwhile, EizanTayama is choosing to go to Dwarf Castle, is valuing the character checks over going, and the character checks are very important to Eizan because he has a crystal sword and he really wants to find a Cecil to use it.
Given what Eizan knows and what he has, I have to agree with this particular play. Other than Luca being, Luca, come on, get out of there, Luca.
The NPCs in Final Fantasy IV are entirely random and do not have a what is the word I'm thinking of? Oh, right. Mission to destroy your soul. They just happen to be very good at it anyways.
Meanwhile, Dr. Hakalugi is hanging out, at least for our first boss here. This is a little bit annoying, but I don't mind this, actually. We have a great party to be able to kind of really crush through this very, very quickly. The more difficult of the 2 fights usually is this first fight in Dwarf Castle because it has a higher HP, but splitting it up over a few different enemies over 2 fights, not bad at all.
No, the spot is not terribly fast either, so very easy to go and just get a few spells off. You know, Dr. Lugia throwing a gas counter, but missing. Did not see what item Peasants got from that tower.
It was just Artemis arrows, so nothing really exciting. Is going to go turn in that pink tail immediately because, one, it's the objective. We're not going to get another key item from here, but if you get something nice from this pink tail, it can really help drive things further right now. So the pink tail is going to reward us with something that Peasants can't use.
Well, if he goes to Kaipo, and Eizan finds Cecil, that is a big equalizer for Eizan. The Crystal Sword has come online.
And suddenly we go from a party that is almost, primarily magic focus on Peasant side to a party that has great physical attack right now on Eizan's side. This is great for Eizan right now. Now, Peasants is going and turning in. He's going to pick up his cane as well, but has already cracked a couple eggs, will not have cane. He does have that Dragoon Lance, though, so a slight weapon. and also has already one more objective done. So this is still anyone's race at this point in time, but I like where Eizen's at, honestly, right now.
Yeah, Eisen, you have a crystal sword. You are going to go and start running over the seed. Peasants need to get to Dwarf Castle and get the slightly inferior X-Cal Cecil online to keep pace. As Fu is doing work, but Crystal Sword Cecil is going to absolutely decimate everything. To answer a question from chat, Slingshot experience, aka bonus experience for being behind, is turned off. So even if you get a new character, normally in the randomizer, if they're 10 levels behind or 5 levels behind the party, they will go and gain double experience until they catch up. But now, well, we turn that off for this flag because we may have used that an extraordinary amount in the previous tournament.
And almost suddenly we're like, yeah, we're going to give Cecil all of the strength multipliers that we possibly can because Cecil.
Turns out when you have a 200 attack base damage weapon, not a bad idea to go and get that person swinging as hard as possible.
Peasants is doing something a little cheeky here. We have not seen the Odin throne yet, and it's some variation of Mylan right now. It looks like it is Mylan and friends.
That's pretty free here, all things considered. He's going to go. Mylan and Friends is going to go and cast Quake. Going to cast Lit 1 and order the zombies to cast Vampire. But otherwise, yeah, okay, 360 damage to Lit 1. It hurts, yes, but it's not thousands of damage.
Yeah, it's nukes and Quake should suffice to get through here. Crystal Sword Cecil will also make very quick work. It's not like we completely eliminated all of our magic damage. We still have Fu, who's fantastic at casting Quake, honestly.
Yep. Fu is going to go and do a lot of work on Eizen's side when he gets there, but Eizen's going to be getting to this Valvalis very shortly, and that's going to go and get Eizen objective number 3, turn in the pink tail.
Meanwhile, Eisen is going to be starting his Val fight, in a much better spot, honestly. Not that Peasants really struggled with this particular spot, but I just like having physical damage on Val. I don't understand why. I know, yeah, you can nuke your way through this, but there's just something satisfying about, punching Valvalis in the face.
I mean, the Crystal Sword is a much faster animation to do about as much damage at certain levels, so not terribly bad to go and have Nuke on a stick instead of going and waiting through the whole animation of Nuke. And there's a spoon from Baron. That means that the Darkness Crystal is in Feymarch. Also, Peasants is at 9 key items, 1 away from going and getting 10. Eisen getting the Adamant from Dwarf Castle, also close to that 10 key items, was only at 8, needing to go and complete both this spot and the Baron Basement. So if Peasants goes to Dwarf Castle next, he will find the Cecil, and he will find 1/2 of Forge, which that's a pretty big find for Peasants.
At this point, based on everything that we've checked up to this point in time, it feels like our progress is going to be in the Feymarch at this point in time, which a couple of bosses that could be rude but aren't going to be too bad. I think Cecil is what pushes me there, because that Antlion boss, if all you're doing is having Kane jump and Fu cast nuke, Cecil can cover strat through Antlion from the back row perfectly well, and that becomes not free but much easier. It becomes a little bit more difficult if you don't have a Cecil and you have to punch your way through it, because he can do quite a bit of damage. The other fight, the elements, if we have the reflex strats, ironically, if you have a magic party, that'll be easier, but if you have a physical party on the Antlion side, that might be easier. So interesting strats here, but that's our ticket to the next phase of this race.
Speaking of tickets to the next phase, Peasants finding a dwarf axe, which is a very nice find, as mentioned earlier. The only weapon around to go in back row cane. It was just in a pot next to one of the vendors, so not going and choosing the back row cane yet, but is an option available to peasants. But Eizan is getting through this Val fight, but it's taking a little bit longer as Fu is out of MP, has been doing jumps, whatnot, and the Rays are going and getting pretty progressed on both Fusoya and Cecil.
Getting some heals thrown out here from Rosa in order, the trick is we really want to kind of protect Cecil at this point in time because he's the primary source of damage right at the moment.
Yes, he Fusoya is out of MP, so is not going to be in a position to go and throw any more nukes. And well, if he's not throwing out nukes, he's not throwing out much else. But peasants going and still relying on trusty old Fusoya to get through this Dr. Luge fight, and is now going to be running into the question of, do you add Cecil to your party when you have an X-Scale? Pretty sure the answer is going to be yes.
The answer should be yes, but Peasants has also already invested in some eggs with this party. He did go pick up Kane. It'll be interesting, one way or the other. It's a decision that has to be made. And yes, Rydia goes and takes a nap. First of all, I don't like the Rydia hate, because Rydia with Asura is at least the third best white mage in this game.
Problem is you have the top two, as Fusoya and Rosa are a clear cut above other white mages. And also, Rydia needs about an extra 100,000 experience in order to go and get Nuke compared to Palom, which, if you need 100,000 experience that you've already ground, well, you can just put it on Cecil, and Cecil's going to go and just get a lot stronger, a lot faster with that 100,000 experience.
Oh, look, Fu is still stoned. I don't understand, one, why Fu didn't share, and two, I guess, he doesn't need the experience, I suppose, so might as well keep him stoned.
Yes, the Petrify effect went, and it's no real point in cleansing it on Fusoya, as he doesn't necessarily need to go and get experience. He's a character who's already quite powerful once you complete these boss checks. And it takes time to go and heal up between fights. You don't need it for this fight, so makes perfect sense to go and not go through that menu. But there is Peasants getting that Adamant, and that is a 10th key item for Peasants, while Eizan still needs to go and do the Baron Throne, if I'm not miscounting, to get a 10th key item.
That's right. Peasants has gone ahead and done that. It's a spoon, so it's interesting that's the 10th key item right now. So that's the key to the grind. If we really want to really start the grind at this point in time, Peasants would certainly be rewarded for doing that, especially considering what we have left that has to be in the Fey March from those two otherwise rude bosses. Eizan might go up there and do it first, but he might say, that fight could be something that's just as rude as everything else, so he might just dive. Peasants is going to go grind, so he will have a much more efficient grind unless Eizan does something else.
Yeah, that is... that is a very interesting choice for Eizan, because do you go and check that Baron Throne that you faded checking earlier, because it's a much more dangerous spot than anything else on the overworld. But it is a chance for a 10th key item, but Eizan is choosing to go to the underground, so we know this is going to bring to, if he can get through the fights, it's going to bring him to progress, but Peasants is going to go and be getting the faster experience.
Cecil 1002, I just want you to know that I love you too. Just putting that out there.
Peasants going and throwing a coffin at the egg, just going to go and get a bunch of levels on this team, and power this team up quite significantly. Well, Eizan has not gone and turned in the pink tail yet, so does not have the Dragoon Spear for Kane, which is only a small upgrade over the Gungnir Spear in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, once you get to Kane's top tier weaponry, you know, Gungnir, White Lance, Dragoon Lance, Defense Sword, the separation between the two is relatively small. There's a much bigger gap when you get to Cecil's endgame weaponry. Honestly, I think the difference between like X-Cal and Crystal Sword is greater than the difference between Kane's, like, most people think that Kane's best weapon is going to be the Defense Sword, and Gungnir, his fourth best weapon. I think that's how close his top tier weapons are.
Yeah, for perspective, the Defense Sword has an attack power of 105. Kane's theoretically ultimate weapon of the Dragoon Lance, or excuse me, the White Spear, has an attack power of 109, but has lower accuracy. The Dragoon Spear has an attack power of 99, but does bonus damage to dragons. Gungnir has, I believe, 90 attack power, or maybe 80. Cecil, on the other hand, can use that Defense Sword for 105 attack power. The Light Sword has around 90 attack power. The X-Scale has 150 attack power and gives 10 strength. And the Crystal Sword has 200 attack power and gives plus 15 strength. Also, it does bonus damage to undead because it just needs to be even stronger.
And my goodness, Elements is being rude right at the moment. Eizan is tackling this at a significantly lower level, but he's got Cecil in the back row ready to do some covers.
As going in, popping a Starbell on Fusoya, Cecil is taking 1 point of damage, and as long as he is covering a character, Cecil will go and take the damage for them. Everyone else is going down in one punch, while Cecil is just in there saying, "What? This doesn't hurt."
So this brings up an interesting strategy that is part of the Final Fantasy IV. It's part of the general Final Fantasy IV speedrunning community, but is really abused here in the free enterprise randomizer. All sorts of, any sort of counter in this game that the enemies end up doing, be it, I'm going. Anytime you attack at me, I'm going to counter you. We have counter fire attacks. We have all sorts of different counters in the game. If you hit them with a reflected spell, it negates any sort of counter script that any enemy will have in the entire game. One of those counter scripts is a lot of these phase transitions that you see in the Elements fights, the HP refill in Zero Miss, all sorts of different scripts that are involved in kind of fight transitions. So if you use nothing but reflected strats on these enemies as they're set up, you can skip entire phases of the fight. You can skip entire HP refills and going through. So that's how a lot of runners end up getting through a lot of these late game fights that have some really weird and complicated strats, which is why we're seeing the setup to just focus on reflect strats, and Eizan gets through.
Eizan gets through while Peasants, not using any fancy tricks, decide, I'm more powerful. I'm just going to go and smack these things in the face with a holy sword. And Antlion apparently holding the way forward. I'm sure Eizan is terribly pleased about that, as he has burned through all of his restoratives for Fusoya and the other fight.
The interesting thing is Eizan is going to go and refill. He wants to keep the levels. Peasants could probably reset out of that and save himself some time if he wanted to. Yeah, going to take a nap at the inn. Peasants might be doing something very similar here. Oh, wow.
I can see that making sense. You've got a Protect Ring where, if you want to go into the Zeromas at lower levels, that Protect Ring can be all it takes to go and keep you a little bit safer. Oh, Peasant's just simply saving, not even going to heal. Oh no, is going to go heal. Eizan's choosing to heal afterwards. Peasant's choosing to heal. Eizan's choosing to rest, then save. Peasant's choosing to save, then rest.
And this is what we expect. Eizan has not turned in the pink tail. He has it, but he opted for the more efficient. He's like, that's not going to win me the race right now. I'm going to do my checks and then turn it in. Oh, yeah, by the way, Antlion's kind of punchy.
So, one fun fact about this spot, this is where Leviathan is in the vanilla game. If you are unaware, Leviathan does two things. He casts Big Wave, and he casts Ice 2. Neither of those things do nearly that much damage to these characters. However, Leviathan, for one reason or another, has about close to the maximum in physical attack power. So when a physical attack boss gets in this spot, well, the punches come out and they hurt.
Glass Cecil, or Glass Helm, back row Cecil can make this easy, but I don't think we equipped the Glass Helm, and otherwise Eizan is getting Falcon punched quite hard right here.
Eizan was very wise in going and choosing to heal then save, because this is going to be very painful for Eizan. He is noticeably at a lower level than Peasants, who definitely very well equipped to go and just throw out damage. Counter on Fu does hurt a fair bit with 447 damage, but Fu's not down. Only the person who's down on Peasant side is Hallam, while Cecil needs to go and get a bit more power going on, because this spot is also fast.
Very fast. Looks like Peasants was able to, Cecil was able to survive one punch, gets the blinks up, and now has covers going. So that's the essence of the strategy for Peasants. Let everyone be weak and just have Cecil blink and cover and get through it. Eizan making another go at it right now. This is going to be a little bit difficult. Peasants is set up a little bit easier at a higher level. This is going to be rough.
Yeah, Peasants is going to go and have the advantage. He has Palom with Quake, he's got Fusoya with Nuke, and he has extra HP on Cecil, who is going to go and just be able to takes 1,000 damage on a hit. Eizan Cecil took a bit over 1,000. That took him down. Even like 1,500 is enough to keep Peasant Cecil alive and kicking. Peasant's deciding that Cecil, his MP is better utilized on a different character, and thus needs to go and give it to Fusoya. That said, if Cecil's in critical HP, he's not going to be covering anyone, so we need to go and heal up Cecil if we want him to continue taking hits for other people.
Both runners, I think, have stabilized their fight. We did see Eizan turn down the battle speed because he wants to be able to control things a little bit easier. Peasants, all speed ahead, really doing very well on this ant line. Does get through, is the first one through. This, I think by virtue, this either has to be the Darkness Crystal or our path to the Darkness Crystal.
I do believe you're correct. I believe we're out of options for anything but Path to Darkness. And we have a Luca key. Will we have a vanilla item, or will we go and have a transitive vanilla item?
And after that, you're like, yep, let's exit. We're done here.
Peasants does have the extra key item, which not going to be important after Eizan gets through this fight. Is this the Luca key is going to go and be enough to give Eizan 10 key items, but it did enable Peasants to grind before taking on this Antlion, and Antlion is not playing nice.
No, I think at this point in time, this is exactly... Eizan will get through this. It's going to take him a while, but he will get through this, and then he'll be able to get his grind on. So he's not going to be too fine behind Peasants. But this is the point in the race where we've reached a bottleneck, where we know both runners have to complete one thing, and then everything else, there might be some variation after this, but from this bottleneck point, Peasants is objectively winning this particular race. So it'll be interesting to see if Eizan can catch up here.
We do have the moon. There's a lot of things on the moon. You can go and have a lot of fights. There's top down, there's bottom up. Depending which route you go and take to the moon, Eizan can still go and catch up. So he's certainly not out of the race, but Peasants does have the distinct advantage at this point. also having Cure 4 is very convenient. This Peasant's party is pretty close to Zeromus levels, to be entirely honest. Probably want a few more levels on the melee fighters, but easily attained with a few Sirens. And if we have to take any moon fights, well, we'll definitely get plenty of experience there with 10 key items. But going for the vanilla item today with this Darkness Crystal.
Darkness Crystal, and what's this boss? If it's Bahamut, I mean, it's... Ooh, that'd be interesting. But it is just some free soldiers.
This is... How many free... that Bahamut fight might be the last of the free fights we have. Was Eizan is through that Antlion fight, has the Luca key, is at 10 key items. Does not have them empty the cast exit on... And Rosa has the empty to cast exit, as runners are very frequently used to not having exit on Rosa because Rosa doesn't learn exit naturally. She only learns it after we go and clear. Excuse me, after we go and clear the Tower of Zot, which we don't do every seed.
Look at that triple life glitch, getting that off. Not that, you know, the officer holds most of the experience there anyway, so we're going to get at least a little bit, but
50,000, that's almost a full egg, so that's a bit of value maximization there. And Peasants is through this Luca cave is going to go and be heading up to the moon as we have no other checks left. Honestly, the only chain we have left is the required Twin Harp.
So the question becomes, do you, I mean, if you get Twin Harp, do you nope out immediately? Or do you keep trying to find it?
I think the play is if you find Twin Harp on the moon, you check for Bahamut. And if you don't find Bahamut on the moon, you've already done pretty much every gated boss check except for Package and the Giant. You can do Twin Harp, see if Bahamut's there, or see if the Legend Sword is there, either one being an out. And then you can either check the Giant or go back to the moon and check for a Package. But those are really the two key items that would keep you, or the Legend Sword directly would be the only things keeping you on the moon. Everything else you could go, and that Twin Harp could be, it could be a filthy triple having both Bahamut and the Legend Sword, and still be the object number 2. So you could go and have all you need to complete those objectives without even needing to do the other ones, which is rather ironic.
Yeah, there's still some rudeness that can be out there, but it's really interesting to see how far this is going to go. Peasants kind of in the driver's seat right now. 2 objectives done. I don't know. You're at 2 objectives done at 1:20. How are you feeling, Baka, if you're running this race? Are you feeling good? Are you feeling like, oh no, I've messed up somewhere? What's going through your mind?
I'm feeling behind just because hour 21 getting to the moon, I always feel behind. You last locationed it. It most certainly was not a free march. It is not something where it's like, oh god, I should have done this earlier. This is such a free fight. No, it's this was Antlion at Leviathan. That's your last check on Earth. That's your last check on Earth. After you double check, you make sure that all the other checks are done and Demas has been found, and you really, really didn't miss it. So it all comes down to how you feel about your execution, and, well, we know Peasants is ahead. Peasants is running this, and when you're running this, all you're thinking of, I made a mistake here, I could have saved time there, I could have, lost some time doing this, I didn't really need to do that. Peasants is feeling the pressure. Peasants is in the lead, but he's feeling the pressure. And thank you, Some Call Me Johnny, for the raid. We are in the late stages of this race. We have had a very rude seed, which had to go through almost the entire overworld to go and find the hook to go and be your path underground. We had already found Demas at that point, and the hook path was a buy-in into an evil wall. Now we're running through the rest of the underground, and to get to the darkness crystal to advance to the final third of the game, the moon, you had to go through an antlion at one of the punchiest spots in the game, which definitely did a lot of mean things to our runners.
Oh no, Kenyatzo at Bahamut. This could be interesting.
There are worse spots. I mean, I would have taken that over the hook route, or I would definitely glad that he's not on the hook route. Some nukes coming out and just get that Cecil berserking or silk web. If you do enough damage and you are high level, you can probably just tank the waves and go straight through this.
Great timing there by Peasants. He has a pre-queued up Thor Rage on his Cecil, just anticipating. His early phases are one punch, gather the water, one punch, gather the water. So if you can get the rhythm down and kind of know the feel for it, you can kind of set up whatever the Thor Rage is going to be, knowing that's when you need to get that off to make sure the water goes away in the right timing. There's the one punch. Next one, we have to make sure, getting the Rosa to do it right now.
Yep, though that Berserk Cecil is doing quite a bit of damage and was actually a little early on this, but obviously the water coming out. Hallam's Ice 3 is going to come out and not going to hit the ice weakness, as Keinazu is weak to ice in the normal phase, but weak only to lightning in the water gathered phase.
Luckily, at this point in time, we've done enough damage. I think a wave is still going to come out. I think it's queued up, but we've done enough damage to him that I think it's going to be kind of a low wave here. Maybe not. I mean, we're getting some nukes out, so.
Yeah, this wave is not going to hurt too much, I think. Keinazu is hiding the shell that is the last 25% of Keinazu's HP, if I'm not mistaken, and that 5,000 damage is enough to tip things over to the end.
All right, and with that, just a Ninja Star. That might be something I'm willing to reset out of unless I'm worried about levels. And as you mentioned, we're at Zeromus levels now at this point in time. We can start face checking stuff. We can start resetting out right now. At least I'd be comfortable doing it on Peasant side.
Yeah, that's depends on how much you feel about will the extra experience speed me up more than the extra healing is going to go and cost me, though. With the bottom of the moon, if I hit duds and I don't have cabins, I think I want to go and just reset because, you really want to be fresh for all those fights. But meanwhile, Eizan is going to launch the big whale. We know that Cave Bahamut is a dud. If Eizan chooses to go straight to the moon and takes a different path than Peasants, Eizan is still in this race, though he is lower level than Peasants.
It's really going to depend right now on Eizan's route up on the moon. We know that there's nothing really of value to be gained in Cave Bahamut. So if he fades Bahamut and goes right into the Crystal Tower, then I think he's got a fighting chance. If he goes there, I'm less optimistic. It's really dependent on Eizan's routing, though.
Agreed. And speaking of routing, Edge appears on the moon and is immediately routed to not this party, as I don't think we have any weapons for the ninja.
No, and this is one of the few seeds where we haven't had just like a casual Murasame pop up somewhere.
Yeah, no ninja swords, no Murasames. Edge is a convenient character because he can go and, as a unique feature of his character, he can steal things. And in Free Enterprise, we've restored the J drop tables, which means from certain monsters you can steal some highly valuable things like sirens, Bacchus wines, silk webs in a pinch. But if you can find all those things in shops, I think our runner's going to be more interested in saying we'll just pay with them for the amount of money we have. And oh look, we found the alt gauntlet on the moon.
Oh no, that's terrible. Here's the thing. I mean, it's great. Peasants is going to go ahead and take this fight. Eisen is making the play that he needs to make and going through and fading K. Bahamut. If he goes bottom down, he can completely skip this particular fight. It's not over, folks. Eisen could still be in this.
Yeah, ironically, Eisen might want this fight just because, hey, look, a grind, but is instead walking down to the bottom of the moon is going to go and be getting to checks before Peasant. And honestly, unless this is a twin heart for Peasants, Eisen's probably going to have a distinct advantage here now. Still has to go and turn in the pink tail, but just needs to go and find either Bahamut, where there are 4 bosses down here on the bottom of the moon, or the Legend Sword and the Twin Harp, and there are 5 key item spots on the bottom of the moon.
Let's not discount all the levels that Peasants is going to gain from this, though. This is going to make everything just easy. Eisen is still about 10 levels behind, even where Peasants was starting this fight. So he can get through these bosses and is going to gain all the experience because now he's also at 10 key items. But he's not going to be able to just kind of put a blindfold on and hold A through the fights like Peasants is.
Yeah, though Eisen is choosing to go straight to the Crystal Sword altar. This tells me that Eisen definitely feels behind. So the Crystal Sword altar is in the bottom of the moon. It's part of that group of 4 I was mentioning earlier, but it's the most out of the way of all of them. It's across the secret path, down a bridge, up these stairs. Well, if you went to the other stairway and went down, you'd hit a save point and you'd find 2 boss rooms right next to each other with 3 key items between them, and another one just another screen away.
The Lunar's not bad, honestly.
And this spot has some pretty weak magic power. Not to mention, Eisen has a Crystal Sword. One of the properties of the Crystal Sword is it does bonus damage to undead. And, don't know if you're observing this, but D-Lunars, they are undead dragons. They will go.
I would be real tempted to just let Cecil go burr here at this point, if I'm honest.
I wouldn't disagree with it because the low magic power, if you hit the D-Lunars, they change their script from going and throwing punches, where this spot has very high attack power, to throwing viruses, where this spot has absolutely garbage magic power.
Instead, it looks like he's trying to set up for lunar frogs, honestly, getting some walls out on folks. We're done with fires up at, hopefully we're done with fires up until this point in time, so we're going to cast the walls. Lunar frogs is an interesting strat because the D-Lunars do have a script. Once they've punched enough and they've tired out their bony arms, they try to cast essentially the toad spell on your characters. Now you can reflect it off and it can actually hit them properly.
Yes, they cast breath, which it's not just toad, it's literally 6 different status effects. If you have resistance to any of those status effects, it'll miss on you. The D-Lunars have no resistance to any status effects. And the breath is the only is a spell that will ignore the boss bit.
So we have ourselves lunar frogs, and we have Cecil zerked up, or going to be zerked up here directly, and we'll be done. Meanwhile, Peasants, I think this is the double King Ryu fight is the last one, but Fu's out of MP, Palom is down, should still be able to get this fight, but it's been kind of a rough go through this particular alt gauntlet.
Peasants started this fight before Eisen landed on the moon, and Eisen is probably going to get through his moon fight before Peasants is. Though they might be both close to the end. The confused party members are going in and throwing out some extra actions and just delaying things. And it does seem like we have had a temporary hitch in Peasant stream, which I'm sure our restreamers will taking care of as well. There we go. It's recovered. There may be a slight time differential between the runners, as if you have preserved delay, that will go and hold off on skipping things so we get to see everything, but the timers might be slightly different, so we'll be going and double checking the times based on the race rooms.
Oh my god, the twin harp!
Eisen you made a gamble. Are you going to full commit to going back and checking this Twin Harp, or are you going to go and check more of the moon? Eisen is going to check more of the moon. Peasants receives the package. This is not what Peasants wants to see, but there are some interesting lines here. One, the package is not behind the Twin Harp, which means you can't go and find a buried Bahamut behind package, and that's where your go mode is. You'd have to go and do the Twin Harp. Twin Harp's going to go and either have nothing, the Magma Key, or Legend Sword, or just junk. But we do not have anything good for Peasants. Is not looking to be in the best position, as that Twin Harp is very big and can go and hold multiple different ways to go mode.
At this point, I'm just face checking bosses. Like, if I find a Bahamut, I'm killing them and going. Oh, by the way,
Eisen is in go mode. Peasants will need, unless Bahamut gives the Legend Sword, or Peasants goes straight to the Crystal Sword altar, Eisen is in go mode. Eisen has a significant advantage on go mode just because of how his moon route worked out.
And this is, I think, exactly how this is just textbook exactly why, if you're feeling behind, you should gamble on making certain low percent checks, and how you go about doing it and following through with it. Because Eisen was behind, he made a low percent check on the Crystal Sword altar, bypassing some other 2 locations, and he is being rewarded in spades with his gambles and sticking with it. I love this play absolutely by EizanTayama. This is something that I think every runner should take note of. This is how you gamble.
Yep, that is definitely, like, that Crystal Sword altar is going to be the 4th check Peasants makes down here, if I'm not mistaken, because he's likely to go and check for the Ribbon Room to see if he gets something, check the White Spear altar where Bahamut is, and then go and check the Masamune altar. There's Peasant going straight to the Ribbon Room. There's 2 key item checks here. They could be the Legend Sword or the Twin Harp. And it is a free fight as well. That is very convenient.
If this ends up being the Legend Sword as well, ooh.
If this is a Legend Sword, it swings straight back to Eisen. It's a big bomb from Bahamut. So Eisen is going to need to go back to Earth to finish his go mode. Doesn't have any real reason to stick around. If Legend Sword is in this room and Peasants hits the Bahamut, Peasants is back in the driver's seat now. His Twin Harp is going to be a long cutscene check. And Eisen does not have as much experience as Peasants who, well, you can see that 3,000 HP on Cecil and Kane.
This is everything that you want a round of 8 race to be. It is tight. It is back and forth. One runner slightly ahead, the other runner making a crazy gamble and it working out in their favor. What a way! This is the second game of the round of 8. So good, so good.
What's amazing is there's a 50% chance that the Legend Sword is here, because there are 4 spots that Legend Sword can be. One of the 2 chests in this room, the Masamune altar that we haven't seen yet, or the Twin Harp. If it's the Twin Harp, Eisen is very firmly in the lead. If it's in here or the Masamune altar, Peasants is going to be in the lead once he completes Bahamut. And there's Legend!
Oh my god! Oh!
Peasants is now going to be in the driver's seat, as Eisen is lower level and needs to go and do the long, lengthy, cutscene heavy Twin Harp check, while Peasants is going to go find this Bahamut, kill this Bahamut, go back to Earth, do the much shorter cutscene of the Forge, and have a crystal. Both runners have a pass. This is just, how quickly can you go through Zeromus? And Peasants has the higher level party.
This is incredible. I mean, this is if anyone out there is trying to show what free enterprise is all about to your skeptical friends, your significant others who's like, what's this all about? How can this be exciting? Show them this race. Just pull up this VOD and let them run, because this has been so back and forth, high level play from both of these runners at this point in time. This is everything you want a franchise run to be.
Exactly. And one great thing about free enterprise is we have 5 objectives. We only need to complete 4 of them, which is why we have such a tight, impressive race. Eizen's going to go and get a 4th objective off Twin Harp, which he's flying to now. Peasants is going to get the 4th objective and the crystal off of the forge.
Where? Oh, he's grinding. He's doing his he's doing an egg grind right now. He wants at least a couple more levels before he takes this on, because he wants to be able to just run and go.
Yeah, that makes sense, because Eizan, he is going to be landing at Toria, walking up, going to the Twin Harp, going to Cave Magnus, walking through that cave, going into the cutscene with the Dark Elf, and coming back and being right back at Toria. While Peasants is just going to go to Toria, because there are 2 ways to get to Zeromus. One of which is walking through this moon, going down past that ribbon room into the lunar core, walking all the way to the bottom, and saying hello to Zeromus that way. The other is to take the shortcut opened by the pass, where the pub in Toria, where in the vanilla game you get to just have a little dancing cutscene. Instead, we give you a shortcut to the final boss of the game. If you don't have the crystal, you can't go and fight him, but you can get there very quickly. And with both runners having the pass, we're going to see both of them taking advantage of that shortcut. I see 2000 HP on Rosa. I see some swapping over to get Rosa a life staff. I think Eizen's done grinding, and we're going to be going, and Eizen's going to that Twin Harp check, while Peasants is just turning in the Legend Sword and forging.
My goodness, this has been amazing. This has got to be, I mean, first of all, I'm happy that we're going to be getting Twin Harp music, but we're going to be getting Twin Harp music at about the same time we're getting Z flags in chat, I think.
Yeah. The biggest irony of all of this is that Eizan making the cheeky gamble to go to the Twin Harp is unfortunately costing him time, because he can get through the guards fight next door faster with Stone and Fasoya than he can through this long, slow check that has all the cutscenes. Moon had 3 objectives. Well, had the second half of 1 objective, the Twin Harp, and the second boss hunt. So Moon definitely paying out once you can eventually get to it.
It's real hard to critique Eizan for making the plays that he did, because I honestly thought he did everything right. He made his gambles, he stuck with it and said, yeah, let's go. That's, I think, the exact play that any one of us would have made in his same position. So yeah, I'm seeing a lot of Harp and Z flags in chat.
I just want to agree with you that Eizan definitely made the correct play from where he was. He knew he was going slow, he was struggling, he found an out and he is chasing it. It's just, the seed was so very well set up, but we do have the Z fight coming up, the Zeromus fight, the Z flags, which are for, well, this is a randomizer. We can't go and have the final boss be the same every time, but we don't want to go and change the script. We don't want to go and change the fight itself. We like to give everyone some point of consistency. But why not go and change how the final boss looks? He can't go and take a vacation from that lunar prison. He's stuck in there. We don't want him out and about. He's going to go and be just too mean and ugly in too many other fights. So let's change how he looks, give him a different sprite, and Batazia, would you mind to ask the question?
Whose butt are we going to kick tonight?
Well, we are kicking butts. We are getting the Metroid Brinstar's theme, but I'm going to be talking over this as we get into the Zeromus fight. Peasants is going with very... Actually, I think Peasants might have a relative agility 2 setup, because he did buy a crystal ring, and a crystal ring and a ninja hat put on Fasoya will go and make Zeromus, well, put on your anchor, will take Zeromus from what we call relative agility 1 to relative agility 2, where instead of taking 1 ATB tick to get one action, Zeromus will take at least 2 ATB ticks to get an action.
And I hope you weren't wanting too much music because we're done. That was quick. And that's Wendy.
Oh, the good old Koopaling. Eizan, you have to pick up the crystal. Yes. You can walk out of that room without picking up the item, and it is the Magma Key. That is very unfortunate for Eizan, and that is a very scary thing for Eizan to see, because he kind of needed this to be the Legend Sword to fully pay out, as we are seeing what happens as Peasants got the Legend Sword from the Moon is in this fight. But Eizan now has the crystal and is on his way to Zeromus. But we see a counter nuke coming out from Zeromus. That counter nuke is actually quite important, as I mentioned, Zeromus is a rather complicated fight. He is going to go, and Zeromus' main source of damage is going to be a spell called Big Bang. It's effectively Quake that you can't dodge by floating, and it does like 2,000 damage to everyone. Normally. If you go and get Zeromus to cast a counter nuke, Zeromus is, well, okay, nuke is a little too strong. I'm going to go and scale it back a bit and cast nuke. And on this first round, when he casts Big Bang, he still casts it at that counter nuke power level. If we see any more Big Bangs, those are going to be cast at a different power level, because when Zeromus shakes, he shakes, secretly changes his magic power to make sure, yeah, this Big Bang's going to go and hit hard, and then cast Big Bang. If after Zeromus sets the magic power, but before Zeromus casts Big Bang, you trick Zeromus into casting another counter nuke, it then lowers the magic power again, and it'll only do about 1,000 damage.
Shake, shake, shake. Shake, shake, shake. Shake your Big Bang. Shake your Big Bang.
Alternatively, we might not see another Big Bang, because Peasants with all those levels has what I believe can be described as the damage.
Yeah, all the damage is coming out right now. Even Fire 3 Palom is dealing about 5,000 damage. That's crazy.
That's definitely a fair amount of damage. You don't expect those tier 3 spells to be hitting that hard. Rosa going and casting a nice tier 3 on the party and just getting everyone up again. But Fu is throwing out nukes, Rosa is throwing out whites, Cecil is throwing out nukes on the stick with an X scale. Eizan does have the Crystal Sword. He might have noticeably fewer levels than Peasants does, but Crystal Sword Cecil is a very, very strong contender for extreme damage. I wouldn't be surprised if both Cecils are doing about the same amount of damage.
Yeah, between that and I think we have more heavily towards Zerk strats on Eizan's side. Like, bought enough Bacchus wines that it's just really swinging at this point in time.
Yep, we're going in. We're seeing a lot of damage coming out from spells, but those spells do have long animations. Swings do not. They just simply go, it's like, all right, I've spent 1 second swinging, that's several thousand damage. Wow. Peasants has the long animations that will do multiple thousands of damage, but each one of them does take 2 or 3 swings from Peasant's side, or Eizan's side, excuse me.
Both runners in zero miss at the end time. Peasants has started this. Rocks are falling. This is basically the end of the fight now.
Yes, once we get to the last 12,000 HP, Zeromus stops going and casting spells and just throws rocks. And Zeromus is down on Peasant's side. Peasants is the first place winner of this race with an official time of 1 hour, 45 minutes, and 55 seconds. Get your GGs out in chat for PeasantsOMFG, as he has taken the first match of this best of 3. Let's see if we can get him in here for an interview. And we, I believe, are joined by PeasantsOMFG. GG Peasants on that great seed. How are you feeling?
Thank you very much, GG. Feeling pretty stressed, but calm down. I think I've calmed down a bit.
I can't possibly imagine what would be stressful other than the fact that you got funneled through the entire overworld to a Baigan evil wall hook route, and then had to get funneled through the entire underworld into a antlion darkness crystal.
Imagine if there was no food in the start of this siege. I don't know what I would have done for that evil warman.
Your imagination is a scary place, and I don't want to go there.
Oh,
Walk us through as you're going through this. You know that it was all told kind of a. I'm not going to say a linear seed, but it was kind of last locationing everything until you got up to the moon. Did you feel ahead, behind? What were your thoughts as you were going through there, knowing that, you know, we're in the round of 8 now, and there's no day off?
so the start of the race, I felt like pretty good for the overworld. I think I was doing I was getting through fights quite quickly, and then the further I got into the seed, like once I realized that Antlion held go mode, I was pretty much certain that me and Eisen were probably going to be basically tied going to the moon, because last location, it didn't matter what I did beforehand. I still had to do everything. So everything was going good, and then I sat through a gauntlet for some reason, and then I got very, very stressed when I hit go mode immediately after it.
Yeah, that I am curious. What was your logic for sitting through the gauntlet? It is a rather long check.
I don't know. My logic was I didn't want to sit through getting edge on the on the thingo again, which is a terrible, terrible logic to make. But I mean, it's what I did. Oops.
Oh, that did make you very safe in your Thromas fight. Did you have any thoughts about what could go wrong in that fight, or did you just stare at your Cecil and think, yeah, he's got enough HP to survive a big bang into Medio again?
Yeah, I think it wasn't too. What I had nearly 4k health or something. It was too much health actually. But yeah, I wasn't too stressed about that. Besides the fact that I ended up going with hybrid strats, which isn't particularly fast. Like Reflect and Zerka are faster than them both. So I think I saw Eisen typing like halfway through my fight, and so I was still pretty on edge during the Z fight as well.
Makes a lot of sense. Since Eisen has just completed the Z fight on our side, we'll get the time up in a minute, but it is only a few minutes between you two runners, which definitely a close race.
Yeah, big GGs to him.
So with the characters you saw, you decided to go and end your game with a party of Hallam, Fasoya, Rosa, Kane, and Cecil. Did you have any interest in going and keeping that sit around any longer, or were you just really planning on running those two, the 3 mages and 2 Zerkers?
I thought like this seed looked like it was going to be full Reflect, and I was pretty much prepared for that. And then getting Excalibur and then getting Dragoon Lance Cecil. No, Dragoon Lance Kane into Cecil. Like my game plan completely changed. Like it didn't. I could have some mixed damage and I could still be doing just as fast, if not faster. The problem was that I didn't have RA1. I was really banking on the moon to be an Edward or a repeat Sid or something like that, but it wasn't. It was an Edge, which is literally the worst option. So I just kept Palin around for the muscle.
That was rather amusing for how rude it was, but you did go and get that crystal ring. How relieved were you seeing the crystal ring in the shop? Was that going to go and just solve things for you in your anchor front, or did you have a plan B in mind?
I had no plan B. That was sick. I at my levels, I have a feeling Rosa might have been 28 already. She was pretty high. She might have been 26 or 27, but with a ninja hat on, I think she would have been okay. But with the with crystal ring plus ninja hat on Fu, I know that's 100% going to be 28. I don't have to check anything, so I just did it. Didn't waste too much time, I think.
It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So talk us a little bit. So you're up 1-0 now. I see you have the rematch that's scheduled for tomorrow night, 7 p.m. It's going to be over on Free Enterprise. What's the plan there? Are you going to change up your strategy? Are you going to, go back, watch the VOD? What's the plan, man?
I'm going to watch the VOD because honestly, I really like whenever Barker does comms. So I'm really excited just to watch this race in general, and especially how close it is. But biggest game change will probably be not sitting through Gauntlet, top-down Gauntlet. It's very dumb. But besides from that, I think I played decently well. I'll probably just try and do most of the same.
You definitely had a very clean run, so GG's to you, and yeah, can't wait to go and see you in your next match.
Yeah, cool. Thank you, guys. Thank you for the comms and the restream. I appreciate all of you, and hope you guys have a good night.
Thank you. You too.
Yeah, GG.
GG's. And Eisen has declined to do an interview. It is late for him. He unfortunately cannot talk, but an amazing show put on by EizanTayama. It's a round of 8 for a reason. These are both very solid runners. These are definitely small things can go and change seeds, and Eisen just had slightly harder time getting through the Evil Ball and the Antlion. And then just the Legend Sword being in that very convenient spot for Peasants also gave Peasants a bit of an edge back. But
Yeah, just a couple decisions different, and that's really the difference, and that's going to be the difference between all the races from this point moving forward.
Agreed. And I would like to go and give a thank you again to our restreamer Smapety, our tracker HeartGirl26, and my co-commentator Vitasia.
Oh, and big shout out to you as well, Baka Shinobi. It's always a pleasure working with you. I'm glad to be back on this side of the microphone, honestly.
Hey, you did have a hell of a run on this tournament as well. But with that, we are going to this is the end of our tournament free enterprise for the evening, but we are going to send you on to another community member. Asuka424 is going and practicing a flag set called Supermarket Sweeps for the free enterprise ladder. So go over, give her our love, and wish her the best of luck in her practice. But also, please do not spoil the results of this race, as many people do enjoy to see these VODs and get the results from them. So feel free to tell everyone there is a good one.
Absolutely, and have a great night, everyone. Stay safe, and we'll see you at the next race tomorrow.
Have a great evening. That was certainly a race.
That was a hell of a race, yeah.
How well do you like going through rude bosses? Like, just kept getting funneled too. There's no like, oh yeah, we're gonna get, we'll take different paths underground, but then we come back to the same awful boss.
I'm okay.
Hmm?
Yeah, thankfully it was like right at the end. No, tornado sirens were going off. We're in a warning.
Oh, wow.
Warning, thankfully. So, and of course the dog wanted to go outside so bad to go potty.
Yeah,
But we're okay.
Wow.
It's just we're in a warning right now.
Warning just means you go out and look for
yeah.
it.
Take care. Be
Yeah.
safe. Yeah, I'm. Yeah, very few. Lucky that there's minimal tornado activity where I live, so I will take that. We just get all the snow and other awful weather.
Yeah, we get tornadoes and snow and all that fun stuff. So
All of it.
But yeah, that was an interesting race, that's for sure.
Yeah, that was definitely exciting.
The back and forth at the end was just just perfect, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that river had to go and be legend because I don't think Peasants gets through a fight at Masamune in 4 minutes.
Mhm.
Yeah. I'm a very big fan of the X of Y setup because it just lets races be so much more fun. Anyways, I'm going to be heading out. Thank you all very much. This is a great show.
Yes. Yes. Great commentary. Great race restreaming.
Yes, great tracking.
Yeah. I will try not to. Yeah. Yeah.
The
Well, I'm like,
downside of game
I'm-
terms being used a lot.
yeah.
Sorry.
I'm sitting here, and all of a sudden, I'm like, I hear something. I take my headset off. Oh, those are that's sirens. Oh no. I don't know how long